Good morning, guys. I'm sitting here on yet another rainy day here in Nashville. I feel like February is just the month of rain, but I'm drinking my Gyokuro tea and I wanted to show you today what I eat for gut healing. I'm on, I would call it like a clean keto, paleo based diet. And so I'm hoping that my meals can give you some really good ideas for things that can heal your gut, as well as lots of gut healing drinks. That's probably the main thing that I supplement throughout the day, or all my different drinks to support not only gut healing, but just kind of autoimmune stuff and stress relief as well. So I'm about to make some chicken soup to get my day started. I usually don't eat until 9 or 10 in the morning. I wake up at about 6:30. So I just have my tea and then wait till I'm hungry and then have my first meal of the day. I'm telling you guys, this is the weather that we've been dealing with all month. I am so ready for some sunshine. This is crazy.
All right, so this is the chicken soup that I have every single morning. I make a fresh batch every 3 to 4 days so that I don't have to make it every day. And then I use the bone broth that I posted a recipe video for a few weeks ago, and it is absolutely delicious. So I add carrots, celery, onions, zucchini, green beans, and some chicken to this soup. If you want me to make a recipe video, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. But yeah, that way I can just heat it up every single morning and it makes it incredibly easy. So this is round 2 of my green tea, and this is basically the healthy equivalent of pairing like Coke and pizza together, which I used to do all the time, but now it's green tea and chicken soup because times have really changed around here. So I got my chicken soup all heated up and ready to go, and I always fortify it with a good serving of olive oil as well as some dehydrated bone broth. This is lamb bone broth, but what I actually put in the soup was chicken. I just didn't have the package and I wanted you to see where it was from. I also usually add some resistant starch rice, which doesn't drop you out of ketosis, but I forgot to make it, so I had it soaking on the counter ready to go for the next day. So I'm just adding a generous pour of olive oil for all of the amazing fats.
Okay, so it's been a few hours and I'm gonna make lunch because I'm starving. And I'm gonna make bacon and eggs with some sauteed kale and roasted veggies. Normally I would put my cooked and cooled rice with pretty much every single meal because I'm weird and not trying to lose weight. I'm actually trying to keep weight on, if not gain a little bit. So I like to add some type of starch to each meal, and I've tested my blood enough in the past 4 months to know my threshold for carbs and not get kicked out of ketosis, although I do a couple higher carb days every week to help with my hormones and keeping weight on. So if that's not something you want to do, you can just leave out the veggies or the rice and just add in some cut up avocado, which I would do, except I didn't ferment any. So I'm gonna do cooked carrots and parsnips instead of the rice.
So I've got 3 carrots and a parsnip here. You can use whatever veggies you have in your fridge. And then what I do is set my oven to 375, and I just marinate the veggies in avocado oil, ground pepper, and Himalayan pink salt. I cut up all my veggies and put them in the oven for about 25 or 30 minutes. This may look like a ton of kale, but it's actually going to cook down a ton and it'll be perfect for 2 people. Now this is the kind of bacon that I use. It's sugar-free, organic, and nitrate-free. I actually don't really eat pork all that often, maybe once every week, once every 2 weeks. I didn't actually eat pork at all for the first 3 months of this diet, but now I eat it occasionally. I just try not to do it all the time or else it can be kind of inflammatory. So I normally put my bacon in the oven to cook it because it's super easy and delicious that way. And also I'm really remembering why, because this pan is so small I can only do about 4 pieces of bacon at a time. This is the key to kale that actually tastes good. So just buy whatever brand of coconut aminos that you can find at the store. Just make sure that they're low in sugar, and then you just add a little bit to your dish and then pull it right off the heat, because if you leave it on, it will burn. So I just take it off the heat and let it kind of cook in the last few seconds off the stove. And then while I'm making that, I'm actually gonna have a glass of coconut water kefir. I drink maybe 1 to 3 glasses of this a day, probably closer to 1 glass. And this is amazing and tastes delicious. This is the only brand that I use. It's called Cultured Wellness. You do have to ship it in from Australia, so it's kind of expensive, but to be honest, it's totally worth it because these are the absolute best cultures you can get. I also use pasture-raised organic eggs only. These hens have 108 square feet per bird, which I think is drastically better than the conventional eggs that you can get for really cheap at the store.
No, this freaking bacon splattered me and scared me, so I got this egg everywhere and the yolk is now broken. So sad. All right, I've got my lunch here. I've added some basil dressing that I made last night that's so good on any type of like a sweet veggie. So I put that all over my veggies, and I got 3 eggs and a couple pieces of bacon. Well, Sean started a new trend. He accidentally dumped a bunch of coffee on his food. How's that taste?
Pretty good on the carrots. With the carrots and parsnips, since they're so sweet. It's nice.
Did you discover a new seasoning?
The eggs, whatever.
Okay, I'm very excited because number one, I just got done working out for the first time in 2 weeks. It was only for 20 minutes. I hit a yellow light there at the end, so I decided to stop, but I did it and I'm very excited. Also, this isn't technically what I'm eating today. I'm gonna be eating this probably tomorrow, but I just got some more coconut cream in the mail from Amazon, and this coconut cream is the same stuff that I buy in the Asian stores, and normally the stuff from Amazon sucks. It's like way more watery, but this, as you can see, actually has the Thai writing on both sides, which means it's the real stuff, which means it's gonna be super creamy and my yogurt will actually be thick. I'm so excited. Okay, this is like on another level. That's definitely creamy. I think I'm gonna have to put it in the blender. Wow, that is a lot of fat. That, my friends, is how thick you want it. That looks a bazillion times better. By the way, that like gray color is the starter. I don't know why it is that color, but anyway, that is what you want. So thick and creamy. And by the way, that coconut cream tastes like straight up fresh coconut. It is so good. All right, so I'm gonna make a little bone broth drink here. So I have lamb bone broth and I have chicken bone broth, both dehydrated. And I'm gonna add some ginger and sage to make it taste a little bit better, because honestly it's pretty bland if you just use these. I'm also gonna add some liquid electrolytes. When you're on a keto diet, you often need extra electrolytes, and I just got done working out, so I'm gonna add those. And then I'm really going out on a limb here, and I'm gonna add Hishu Wu and ashwagandha because I don't wanna do 2 separate drinks. So this may be really, really disgusting, or it could be really good. We're gonna find out.
All right, so for this recipe, I added half a teaspoon of Hishu Wu, then a whole teaspoon of ashwagandha, a teaspoon of lamb broth, and 2 teaspoons of chicken broth, a generous pour of ginger because you can never have too much ginger. And then my husband suggested putting some sage in there, so I just put a bunch of sage in. And then I added about 12 drops of electrolytes and my hot water. And then because I'm a baby, I added some cold water on top of it and then blended it up really, really well with this little immersion blender, which is awesome.
All right, let's try this out. I wouldn't recommend this. I mean, it basically tastes like ginger. I'm gonna drink this because I don't really care, and it's just a great way to get all this stuff in. My suggestion would be to do the bone broth by itself with the herbs, and maybe just do fresh bone broth because it's gonna be so much better. But I didn't have any. And then do the ashwagandha and the Hishu Wu in a latte and like make it sweet with some chai or something like that, because this is disgusting. All right, it's dinner time, and tonight I'm gonna make kind of a beef bourguignon / beef stew in the Instant Pot. I've had this dish a couple times with my husband and his brother over the last few weeks, and it's so good. I'm gonna make a few tweaks because I only have certain ingredients in here, but I'll show you what I'm doing.
The first thing I do is take the meat out of the fridge to let it get to room temperature. This is about 1.5 pounds of chuck roast that's grass-fed. I turned the Instant Pot on saute and then changed it to low so that it wouldn't be too intense. I feel like it sounds like I'm lying to you that I don't eat pork a lot, but I actually just had 2 pieces of bacon left over from lunch earlier today, and so I just went ahead and added them because it's actually traditional to do that in a beef bourguignon. So I have 3 celery stalks, 4 medium-sized carrots, and 1 onion that I'm dumping in here. I'm adding in a little bit of avocado oil here because the bacon grease wasn't quite enough and my veggies were sticking a little bit to the bottom. I also added in a generous pinch of salt and pepper to this, as well as about 2 teaspoons each of oregano, marjoram, and thyme. I then mixed all of that up together and just let it simmer for maybe 20 minutes. While that was cooking, I cut up my meat into 1 to 2 inch cubes, and then I started heating up my pan so that I could brown this before I put it in the Instant Pot. So here I'm adding about 8 cloves of garlic. I really like a lot of garlic in my food, but I hate peeling it and I hate cutting it. So what you need to do is buy yourself some peeled garlic. It tastes exactly like fresh garlic, and it's way better than the minced stuff, and you don't actually have to go through the trouble of peeling it. And then because I don't want to spend a lot of time cutting this up, I use this little thing that I got from IKEA, and it takes about 2 seconds to chop up your garlic. It's so easy. And literally 10 seconds later, this is what it looks like. Then you're gonna add the garlic and saute it for like a minute or 2 just until it's fragrant, and then add about 1/4 bottle of wine. This is organic, sulfite-free wine. If you can find dry farm wine, that's actually the best stuff to use because it has basically 0 carbs in it, but I'm only gonna be using 1/4 bottle, so I'm not too worried about it anyway. And then you're just gonna let it simmer for a few minutes and evaporate down.
So I actually don't drink alcohol at all, but I'm experimenting with adding in a little bit of wine here and there in my cooking, as long as it's organic, sulfite-free, and mold-free. And I don't even think I put an entire 1/4 bottle in there, probably more like 1/6 bottle. So it's gonna be 1/4 of that because I'm probably making about 4 servings worth. So far I've been completely fine with this. So sadly, because I can't drink this wine, I'm gonna bring it to my parents' house where I'm gonna actually bring this food to eat and give it to my sister because otherwise it's just gonna go in the trash. I didn't time that very well and my beef is done browning, but my wine is not done evaporating, so I'm gonna put this off to the side, off of heat while that cooks.
Now that the wine is done, I'm just adding the beef in as well as some chicken stock. I probably added about 3 cups of chicken stock here. This might sound really weird, but I went ahead and added a beef bone to this because I didn't have beef broth, which is really what you should be using if you're making beef bourguignon. But because I didn't, I added this to give me some flavor, the same flavor as the beef broth, as well as impart all of the great nutrients of the bones as well. So then I just canceled the saute, turn it on to pressure cook for 30 minutes, and leave it to do its magic. Also making some bulletproof ice cream in my ice cream maker, which is so good. The recipe for this ice cream is in the Gutalicious cookbook, and it is so good. I will link it below so you guys can have a chance to buy it. Every single recipe I've tried has been so good. Now I'm gonna heat up some cauliflower rice in a pan with butter, and this is what I'm gonna serve the stew over. So it's been 30 minutes and this is finished. I took all the meat out and I separated this into 2 pans so that it could reduce and become really thick and creamy. And I'm just gonna take all the extra fat off of the beef while that cooks down. And then I shredded the beef, I put it back in the pan after it had been reduced, added it all together, and it honestly looked pretty amazing, I have to say. How's it?
It was great. Wow.
So we're rushing out the door because my parents wanted to have dinner with us. So I'm taking this and the cauliflower rice and the ice cream, and we're gonna watch A Star Is Born, and hopefully this stuff won't spill all over us in the car. All right, so here is the finished product and it looks pretty dang good. We're sitting here with, oops, there's Winston, and we're gonna watch A Star Is Born. Enjoy this great food. Hi.
Hi.
All right, so I'm gonna sit here with my sparkling water and watch this movie. And if you wanna see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. I am posting a video every single Friday, and I will see you guys next week.